press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Namaste children. Today we are going to discuss some questions regarding neural control and coordination. Before going to that, let us see the diagrams related to this chapter. This is structure of neuron. So this diagram shows you the dendrite, nucleus, myelin sheath, axon, nodes of Ranvier and squamous cells, axon terminal. This is structure of neuron. This comes for 5 marks in your annual exam. The types of neuron, they have given unipolar, bipolar, pseudo-unipolar and multipolar. So in unipolar we see single processes arising from the cell body, whereas in bipolar we see two processes arising from the cell body, is one dendrite, one axon. And in pseudo-unipolar, one processes arise from the cell body, and through that one process again that branches into different branches. The single process will branch into different branches, and in multipolar we have many branches arising, many processes arising from the cell body. So smaller processes are called dendrite, one long process is called axon. These are types of neuron. Then this is about the generation of action potential. So at the resting state, when the neurons are at rest, outside we see positive charge and inside we see negative charge. So outside we see positive charge because during rest outside sodium ions will be more and the axonema is impermeable to sodium ions or also for negative charged ions. Due to this, during rest the neurons have outside positive charge and inside negative charge. When stimulus is applied, voltage gated channels for sodium is going to be open. In the second diagram they have shown that. So that the sodium, influx of sodium occurs, that results in depolarized state where the stimulus is applied. So in that area we see outside negative charge and inner positive charge. Again when the stimulus, when the action potential is shifted to the next region, then the previous region will become repolarization due to the opening of voltage gated potassium channel. That results in efflux of potassium. Again we see outside positive charge and inner negative charge. Again resting potential is attained. This is how the ionic movements results in generation of action potential. See, the depolarized state, inner positive charge, outer negative charge. Again in repolarized, inner negative charge, outside positive charge. So in the last diagram they have shown all the three. During resting and repolarized state, inner we see negative charge, outer positive charge. In depolarized state we see inner positive charge and outer negative charge. And types of synapse. So synapse is a junction between two functional neurons. We have two types of synapses, electrical synapses and chemical synapses. So in the chemical, this diagram shows you the chemical synapses. In this we see the release of neurotransmitters. We see the release of neurotransmitters between the axon or between the postsynaptic membrane and presynaptic membrane. So this diagram explains you about chemical synapse. And in the electrical synapse, there is no release of neurotransmitters between postsynaptic membrane and presynaptic membrane. See, there is absence of neurotransmitters. There is direct transmission of action potential from the axon terminals to the postsynaptic cell. This is the diagram which explains you the electrical synapse. Again this difference, this shows both the synapses, electrical synapse and chemical synapse. See, in the chemical synapse neurotransmitters are present, whereas in electrical synapse neurotransmitters are absent. Different types of synapses. Say axodendritic, the synapse is present between the dendrite and axon. In the axosomatic, the synapse is present between the cell body and axon. In axoaxonic, the synapse is present between the axon of one neuron and the axon of another neuron. And endodendritic, there is a synapse present between the dendrite of one neuron and dendrite of adjacent neuron. Next, this shows you the different layers, meningeal layers. The skull is a bony part. Below the skull we see the presence of brain. So between the skull and the brain we see protective coverings of the brain called meninges. So outermost is dura mater, inner is arachnoid matter, outer is dura mater, middle is arachnoid matter, inner is pia mater. So the pia mater is richly supplied with blood. This is the meningeal layers. Then the parts of brain. So the human brain is divided into three parts: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. So we discussed the structure of these parts. So frontal, they are showing frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe and temporal lobe. With that they are showing the cerebrum, corpus callosum, cerebellum and midbrain, and hindbrain includes pons and medulla. Midbrain, pons and medulla, they are present in a same axis, they form a brain stem. This diagram shows you the reflex action, schematic representation of reflex action. See, when you write this diagram, arrow mark is very important. Afferent pathway, arrow mark is towards the spinal cord. In the efferent pathway, arrow mark is away from the spinal cord. That is towards the effector organ. This is the diagram which explains you about the reflex action. Then the structure of eye. See, again these all diagrams you get for 5 marks in your exams. So this neatly labeled diagram of eye. So conjunctiva, ciliary body, there shows retina, choroid, macula, sclera. So this explains you about the parts of eye. Then human ear structure. So in the ear we have two parts, vestibular part and cochlear part, but in this diagram they have not given the vestibular part, only they have given cochlear part. Cochlea mainly responsible for hearing and vestibular part is mainly responsible for balancing. So this is the structure of ear. And this is how the sound waves are generated, how the impulse sound waves are converted into impulse and nerve impulse, and how they go to their respective centers in the brain. So sound waves reach the pinna, then it reaches the eardrum. When eardrums starts vibrating, the ear ossicles, that is malleus, incus and stapes are going to vibrate. Through the ovolino it reaches scala vestibuli, scala tympani, which are filled with fluid. Then the repulsion occurs in the basilar membrane, the tectorial membrane, the air cells bend against the tectorial membrane, that again generates that. Through the sensory air cells we see generation of action potential at the base of the basilar membrane, then that action potential is carried by auditory nerve to the brain where audible sound is interpreted. This is how the generation of impulse takes place when sound reaches the eardrum. So now let us discuss about questions related to this chapter. In the first question they are given, nerve cells do not divide because they do not have nucleus, Golgi bodies, centrioles and mitochondria. So the answer is centrioles. Due to the absence of centrioles, nerve cells will not divide. For the first question, second is the answer. Nerve cells do not divide because they do not have centrioles. Then 4 healthy people in their 20s got involved in injuries resulting in damage and death of few cells of the following. Which of the cells are least likely to be replaced by new cells? So they have given liver cells, neurons, Malpighian layer of the skin, osteocytes. We know that neurons because of the lack of centrioles. Due to the absence of centrioles, neurons are not able to divide. Hagagi, they are the least cells likely to be replaced. Myelin of the nerve fibers of the central nervous system is produced and maintained by oligodendrocytes, astrocytes, microglia, squamous. So in this they have asked central nervous system. So the answer is oligodendrocytes. If they ask myelin of the nerve fibers of the peripheral nervous system anta hagidre, you should go with squamous cells. So the formation of myelin sheath in the peripheral nervous system is formed by the squamous cells. For this question, myelin of nerve fibers of the central nervous system is produced and maintained by oligodendrocytes. For third, first is the option. One of the examples of the action of autonomous nervous system. Autonomous nervous system and the function is not under our control. Involuntary functions na regulate madodu. So in this, swallowing of food, pupillary reflex, peristalsis of intestine, knee jerk. So third is the option. Peristalsis of intestine is controlled by autonomous nervous system. Then rods and cones of the eye are modified. Rods and cones of the eye are modified. Multipolar neuron, unipolar neuron, bipolar neuron. They are modified bipolar neuron. For the fifth, third is the answer. Next, potential differences across resting membrane is negatively charged. This is due to differential distribution of the following ions. Resting membrane is negatively charged. So this is mainly due to the ions like sodium and potassium. So for the sixth, first is the option. Again, the resting membrane potential is maintained by hormones, neurotransmitters, ion pumps, none of the above. We know that the resting membrane potential is mainly maintained by ions like sodium and potassium. That's why for the seventh, third is the option, ion pumps. During the propagation of nerve impulse, the action potential results from movement of. So action potential is generated due to the movement of, that is, sodium ions. So they have asked sodium, first option, potassium ions from intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid. So that's not the answer. Namige gottide it's due to the sodium. So we go with the second, sodium ions from extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid. That is the answer. Again, third, potassium ions from extracellular fluid to extracellular fluid, no. Sodium ions from intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid, that is not the answer. For the 8, second is the answer. Action potential results due to the movement of sodium ions from extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid. Connection between axon and dendrite is synapse. First is the answer. The meninges of the brain are pia mater, dura mater, arachnoid mater. All three are meningeal layers of the brain. So answer is all the three. Fourth is the option. Nissl's bodies found in neurons are made of DNA, masses of ribosome and rough endoplasmic reticulum, help in formation of neurofibres. neurofibrils, masses of mitochondria. For this, second is the option. Nissl's bodies found in neurons are masses of ribosomes and rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then saltatory conduction. Saltatory conduction means jumping of action potential from one node of Ranvier to the next node of Ranvier. That is mainly seen in myelinated fibers. So, saltatory conduction occurs in myelinated fibers. It occurs in myelinated fibers. Second is the option. For the 12th, second is the option. Next, integrative system in the body are endocrine system, nervous system, blood vascular system, fourth, both 1 and 2. So, integrative system, that means in our body all the functions of an organ are controlled by organs, all the functions of our body are controlled by both endocrine system and nervous system. For this, fourth is the answer. When the axon membrane is positively charged outside and negatively charged inside, then the condition is known as, so when the axon membrane is positively charged outside and negatively charged inside, then the condition is known as resting potential. You should remember carefully, you should read that they have told positively charged outside and negatively charged inside. That means it is due to the resting potential. Next, nerve fibers are surrounded by an insulating fatty layer called myelin sheath. For the second, 15th second is the answer. Then, rapid integration of the function activities in human is achieved by, functional activities in human is achieved by nervous system, endocrine system, blood muscular system. It is achieved by nervous system. Why it is achieved by nervous system antandre? Because there is point to point end-to-end connection between the neurons. Due to this, the function, rapid integration of the function occurs due to the connection between the neurons. That's why answer is 1 for the 16th question. Then the functional connection between two neurons is called synapse. The nervous system is derived from, during embryogenesis, we see three layers: ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. Here the nervous system is derived from ectoderm. First is the answer. Jumping of action potential at the nodes of Ranvier is known as, that jumping of action potential at the nodes of Ranvier is known as saltatory conduction. That is known as saltatory conduction seen in myelinated neurons. First is the answer. During the refractory period, nerve transmits impulse very slowly. Nerve cannot transmit impulse. Nerve transmits impulses very rapidly. None of the above. So, during the refractory period, in the refractory period, again the nerve is at resting potential. Immediately after the generation of action potential, that action potential is shifted to neighboring part, adjacent part. The previous part of the neuron will undergo refractory period. During that period, it will not stimulate. Hagagi, nerve cannot transmit impulses. Second is the option. Repolarization of neuron is occurred due to, it's mainly due to efflux of potassium. Movement of potassium ions from the intracellular fluid, that is from the exoplasm to the extracellular fluid. It's mainly due to efflux of potassium. That is for the 21st, fourth is the option. Then the one-way or unidirectional transmission of nerve cells is due to synapses. It's mainly due to synapses. For the 22nd, one is the answer. Nerve impulse initiates with the movement of, they have given potassium, sodium, calcium and magnesium. We know that nerve impulse initiates with a movement of, nerve impulse initiates means generates with a movement of sodium ions from the extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid when voltage gated channels for sodium is opened when stimulus is applied. Due to this, for the 23, second is the option. Fibers which transmit impulses towards the cell body is known as, fibers which transmit impulses towards the cell body is known as dendrites. Towards the cell body means dendrites, away from the cell body and the axon. They have asked towards the cell body. Hagagi answer is 3 for 24th question. The ion channels are dashed to different ions: impermeable, completely permeable, selectively permeable, both 1 and 3. So, the ion channels are selectively permeable to different ions. Understood? They are selectively permeable to different ions. 25th, third is the option. So, in the previous question, see, the axolemma is permeable to potassium ions and it is impermeable to sodium ions. Hagagi, the ion channels are selectively permeable to different ions. Sodium and potassium pump is an example of passive transport, active transport, transportation of ions along a concentration gradient and osmosis. So, sodium and potassium pump is an example for active transport because they move from their lower concentration to higher concentration. That is why they need energy. Hagagi, it is an example of active transport. During rest, see, active transport is going to be function when neurons are at rest. Understood? When stimulus is applied, the voltage gated channels will open and they allow the movement of ions. This sodium potassium pump is an active transport when neurons are at rest. So, 26, second is the option. And GABA amino butyric acid is a neurotransmitter. It acts as a inhibitory neurotransmitter. That means it prevents the transfer of impulses from one neuron to the adjacent neuron. So, it is a inhibitory neurohormone. So, 27, first is the option. The function of nervous tissue is irritability or excitability, sensitivity, elasticity, contraction. So, the function of nervous tissue is excitability. Due to that excitability, the action potential is going to be generated when stimulus is applied. So, for the 28, first is the answer. Intercellular communication in multicellular organism occurs through nervous system only, digestive system only, respiratory system only, and for both nervous and endocrine system. Intercellular, that means between the cells. Communication between the cells occurs in multicellular organism mainly through both the system, that is through the nervous system and also through the endocrine system. For 29th, fourth is the option. Next, the functional connection between two neurons is called synapse. It question repeat agide. Okay, next, association areas in cerebral cortex are sensory areas, motor areas responsible for intersensory associations, memory and communication. None of the above is correct. So, we know that association areas in cerebral cortex are mainly concerned with, they are responsible for intersensory associations, memory and communication. Association areas means where the nerves cannot be differentiated into sensory neurons or motor neurons. That area mainly controls responsible for intersensory association, memory and communication. Third is the option for 31. And 32, hypothalamus does not control. So it controls thermoregulation, correct. Urge for eating and drinking, yes, correct. Produces hormones that regulate the synthesis and secretion of pituitary hormones, yes. Hypothalamus releases gonadotropic releasing hormone and gonadotropic inhibiting hormone. Hagagi C is also correct. Creative thinking and consciousness. So that is not the function of hypothalamus. For 32, B is the option. Then the prime area of brain where different types of information are integrated is central nervous system. The prime area of brain where different types of information are integrated is central nervous system. Then which of the following is a richly vascular layer with lots of blood capillaries? So we know that brain is covered by 3 meningeal layers, dura mater, arachnoid matter and pia mater. Among these, pia mater is richly supplied with blood capillaries. For 34, B is the option. Cerebellum is concerned with coordination of muscular movement, memory, vision, reflex action. So cerebellum is concerned with coordination of muscular movement. Main function is to coordination of muscular movements in our body. Broca's area in the left hemisphere is related to, it's mainly related to speech. So 36, B is the option. When a medulla oblongata is damaged, what happens eventually? So immediately die. The person is going to immediately die. Second option, die after few hours. Third, he survives for an hour and after he dies, none of the above, nothing happens. For the 37, A is the answer. When the damage to medulla oblongata occurs, the person is going to die immediately because medulla oblongata controls the respiration and cardiovascular function. Alva, hagagi the person, if damage occurs to the occipital lobe, below that what we see, medulla oblongata, so the person is going to die immediately. All spinal nerves are motor, sensory, mixed, none of the above. So all spinal nerves are mixed. They have both spinal nerves act as both motor nerve and sensory nerve. Spinal nerves are mixed. 38, C is the answer. Reflex arc consists of motor nerve, sensory nerve, both sensory and motor nerves. So we know that reflex arc consists of both sensory and motor nerves. For 39, C is the option. Then midbrain as the center for reflex action of, they are given visual and tactile and auditory, auditory and tactile and visual and auditory. So we know that midbrain as the center for reflex action of visual, tactile and auditory. So for the 40th question, B is the option. And in eyes, the image which is formed on the retina is, it's mainly on the retina, the image which is going to be formed in human, it is inverted and real. So 41, C is the option, inverted and real. Which of the following structure of the eye is artificially implanted? So the artificially implanted in this is, they are given cornea, lens, retina, both cornea and lens. So artificially implanted one is lens. For the 42nd, B is the option. What conditions are developed after deficiency of vitamin A? So in the deficiency of vitamin A, we see night blindness. So because retinol is going to be synthesized with the help of vitamin A, which is present in rhodopsin. So hagagi in the deficiency of vitamin A we see night blindness. A is the answer for 43. In man the nictitating membrane is absent, vestigial, non-functional, functional. So in man the nictitating membrane is vestigial. Vestigial means that membrane is present but it is non-functional. Hagagi it is vestigial. In man the nictitating membrane is vestigial but it is functional in birds. Then transmission of light into nerve impulse is they have given mechanical process, physical process, chemical process and biochemical process. So transmission of light into nerve impulse is a biochemical process. D is the answer. The organ of corti is a modification of, it is a modification of tectorial membrane, resinous membrane, basilar membrane, mesinous membrane. So the organ of corti is a modification of basilar membrane. Understood? So for 46, C is the answer. And eustachian tube is related, it is mainly related to middle ear. For 47, B is the answer. At a neuromuscular junction, synaptic vesicles discharge. So at a neuromuscular junction, synaptic vesicles discharges acetylcholine. The neurotransmitter at the neuromuscular junction is acetylcholine. 48, A is the answer. And ear ossicles from inner side of middle ear are. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು just change ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ. Ear ossicle ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ we'll write malleus, incus and stapes ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. But they have asked, ನೋಡಿ, while reading question you have to be give more concentration towards reading question because ear ossicle from inner side of middle ear, inner ಇಂದ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. So inner side of the middle ear ಅಂದ್ರೆ we'll go with the answer stapes, incus and malleus. Simply if they ask ear ossicles present in the ear anta andaga malleus, incus and stapes anta baribeku. But here what they have asked? They have asked ear ossicle from inner side of middle ear are anta kelidare. Hagagi the answer is B. Inner side means from inner ear to middle ear. So that is stapes, incus and malleus. The part of human eye which acts like diaphragm of camera is diaphragma. It's a skeletal muscle which mainly involved in respiration, contraction and relaxation is seen in diaphragma. Here the iris of our eye acts as a diaphragma. It regulates the size of the pupil. Hagagi the part of eye which acts like diaphragm of camera is iris. The blind spot in the eye is located. So it is located in the center of the pupil, in the center of the lens, in fovea centralis, where optic nerves leaves retina. The blind spot in the eye is located where optic nerves leaves the retina. There no rods and cones are present. In the blind spot, absence of rods and cones are there. That's why there is no image formation. So this for the 51, this is the answer where the optic nerves leaves the retina. The common defect of eye which develops in old age. So the common defect of eye which develops in old age andre glaucoma, astigmatism, presbyopia, myopia. So here presbyopia is the answer. Ekendre as the age advances 45, 50, 60 years ಆದಂಗೆ ಹತ್ರದ್ದು near objects are not able to see clearly. So that condition is called presbyopia. So for 52, C is the answer. Photosensitive compound in human eye is made up of They are given guanosine and retinol, opsin and retinae, opsin and retinol, transduction and retinae. The answer is C, opsin and retinol. Aqueous humor and vitreous humor are secreted by. They are given iris, lens, ciliary body, cornea. They are secreted by ciliary body. Which of the following is responsible for color detection? They are given cones, rods and cones, choroid. So, color detection is mainly due to cones. So, for 55th A is the answer. Pigmented layer in eye is called, we have 3 layers. So, in that they are given cornea, retina, sclerotic. So, in the 3 layers, the pigmented layer in the eye is called retina. C is the answer for 56. Wax gland present in the ear canal is called. The glands which are present in the ear which secretes wax, they are called, they are given sweat gland, Cowper's gland, prostate gland, sebaceous gland or ceruminous glands. For 57, D is the answer. The wax glands present in the ear are ceruminous glands. They are modified sebaceous glands. 58. The part of the internal ear responsible for hearing is. So, internal ear consists of 2 parts, cochlear part and vestibular part. So, the snail-like structure idella, that is cochlear part. So, the cochlear part is mainly responsible for hearing and vestibular part is mainly responsible for balancing. So, they have asked which is responsible for hearing. Hagagi cochlea is the answer. For 58, A is the answer. Which structure of eye is related to focusing of eye? So, they are given lens, cornea, retina, aqueous and vitreous humor. So, the structure which is responsible for focusing of eye is lens. The last question, the structure in the internal ear which resembles a snail shell is called, which resembles a circular shape snail shell is called organ of corti, membranous labyrinth, cochlea, ear ossicles. So, in the ear, the cochlea resembles snail shell. Hagagi for 60th, C is the answer. So, this completes some questions regarding the neural control and coordination. So, for your competitive exams, each line in your textbook is very, very important and you should know each labelings of the diagrams also. Read the textbook line wise repeatedly, that help you to get good marks in your competitive exams. Thank you.